Hello everyone, and this is a continuation to the for each and copy stamping tutorial that I did last week. I realized that I made a mistake with that one, which was that I ended up using rotation as an example. And that sort of confused a few people because rotation and scaling can be done using like the orient and the p-scale attribute. So the big question was like, where would you use copy stamping then? So I decided I'll do a full-blown proper example because the idea with copy stamping is not about rotation and scaling. So the idea is to randomize a specific parameter of your incoming geometry on a per copy basis. So that was the general concept of copy stamping. So for each and copy stamping. So I decided, okay, I'll do like a full-blown proper example so that it's easy to understand where you would use this. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to do a flower, okay, or like a field of flowers. So as you can see here, there are a few variations. So you can see like the number of leaves vary on each plant and also the number of petals, so some of them have just 4, like 2 have fallen off and then 1 has fallen off. So there are 6 petals total, but then they vary based on each copy. And then also the bend is varying based on each copy. So this is what we'll do. Now, the first thing is, where do you not need to use for each? So let me just make a simple grid. And there are a couple of things. So first of all, like if I just take like a simple box and I'm going to remove the points here. So I'll just take an add and delete geometry. So I'll just have points left. And then I can do something like I can do a randomize, and I can randomize. The two main things that you can do are you can do a p-scale, which is inbuilt, and then you can also randomize the orient. Okay, so the orient controls the rotation. So the orient is like a 4, is like a quaternion. So your dimension needs to be at 4. And then if I do a copy, so if I do a simple copy to points, then this stuff happens automatically, right? So you don't need to do anything here. Okay, so if I come into this and I make like a change to the seed value, or if I come into my scaling and I make some adjustments, see, so you can do this internally. Along with this, you can also, like if I just bypass the orient and if I take another randomize, you can also randomize the XYZ individually using the scale attribute. So the p scale is like a uniform scale, and the scale attribute is a vector, and you can randomize each axis separately. Okay, so this is controlling the x and this is controlling the y. So like if you want to do buildings and you just want them to be like tall and short and not just in x and z, then you can use like the scale function. So this stuff is inbuilt. Right, so you don't need to worry about scaling and rotation. Now, along with this, with Houdini 18, and I have covered this in my, if you've seen the intro to Houdini series that I did for side effects, like I've covered this over there as well. So there is a new function in copy to points called piece attribute. And what that does is, if you want to copy multiple objects, like you want to randomize, like each point should have a different object. Like let's say you have 3 objects and each point should get a different object. Then that you can do without for each. Like earlier you had to do like a switch node and then do a for each for that. But you don't need to do that anymore. Okay, so what you can do is, let's say if I just take this box and I'll take a sphere and I'll take a torus. Yeah, let me just make it really small. Yeah, and then what you need to do is you need to give them like an integer value. Okay, so just take a wrangle and I'll just give it like it generally looks for something called variant, but you can call it anything you want, like it doesn't matter. So I'll just do I at variant is equal to 0. Okay, and then you just sort of do that for each one. So this is 0 and then this is 1. And this is 2. Okay, and then you can merge all of these together and plug this in. So what you'll get is you'll just get like all of them in one place. Okay, like you can see each one in there. Now what you do is you take you can take a simple wrangle, and I can create a variant here as well. So I add variant, and what we'll do is we'll do a fit. So we'll do fit 0, 1. I'll randomize the point number at ptnum, let's say plus something, and we'll go from 0 to 2. And yeah, it gives you this error because this is technically a float value and it's looking for an integer. I think we can just put an integer here. Like I can convert the whole thing into an integer. Let's see if that helps. Yeah, see, so that's better. And then you come back here, and all you do is you turn on piece attribute, and see, that's what you'll get. So each node automatically gets like a different. Yeah, okay, hold on. Let's go from 0 to 3 because I think it's dropping back. Yeah, there you go. Okay, perfect. So this you can do, internally itself. You don't like, I'll get rid of the scale for now. Yeah, there you go. What you can also do is I can take an attribute noise. I'll bypass this guy, and what I'll do is I'll just take the noise and we'll make 1D and call it variant, and then turn on remap noise, and you want to go from 0 to 2. Yeah, so the variant so the problem is that this is a float value. It needs an integer. Let's see if we can convert that to integer. So let's take a wrangle. Let's see if this works. So I can do like I at variant. Let's just call this something. Let's call this noise. Yeah. So we'll do I at variant is equal to at noise. Does that work? Yeah, there you go. That works. It's still going to give you that, like it puts that underlying thing because it's looking for an integer. So convert it to an integer. Yeah, and then we can go from, again, 0, instead of 0 to 2, we go from 0 to 3, and there you go. So if I come down here, or if I come up here and I increase my number of points, and I don't know, let's take a transform and just scale everything down globally. Yeah, see, so there you go. So this kind of stuff you can do, like if I come back to my noise and I start to adjust it, so if I increase the element size, see, so you can very easily do stuff like this. So this stuff you don't need to do for each. Okay, like this stuff will happen automatically. And then if I turn on like animated, you can animate the position as well. See. So for all of this stuff, you can do it inbuilt. You don't need to do for each for this. This is simple. But for the flower stuff that I'm going to do, there you'll need for each and copy stamping. Okay, so I'm just going to keep this to a side, and we'll make a flower. Okay, so this is going to be a slightly longer tutorial because, as I said, like I figured like I'll do a proper example so it's easy. So I'll take a line, I'll make it about 2.5, and then I'll take a resample, and this is fine. Yeah, like the number of points is fine, and we'll take a bend. So the things I want to vary here, I'll just mark them so it's easy for me to track them. Okay, so I want to vary the bend eventually. So I'll give it a color and I'll sort of tilt it. Okay, so that I can see what's going to happen. Okay, and then what I want to do is the bend should be in the Y direction. So the capture direction should be 1 in Y. The capture length, what you can do is you can just take the capture length from here. So I can right click here, do copy parameter, and then paste the length here. So paste relative reference, and then just sort of, bend it a little bit. Then the next thing I want is also in the resample, turn on the curve view so that, we will need that later. Okay, so this is good. Now I want two groups. I want one for the flower and one for the leaves. Okay, so I'm going to take a group here and we'll call it top. Let's just call this top here. And actually no, take take a group by range. And we'll call this top. You can do like a $OS or something over there, but this is fine. Okay, so I can just, what I want is I want points and I want to get rid of the first one, like one on top. So the end goes to 1 and then you do invert range. Okay, so you'll get like the top point. And then let's also do another group by range and we'll call this as leaves. So if you want to name, like this name should come in here, you do a $OS. So that becomes like the name of your, so see, so you'll get a group called leaves. So whatever is the name you put here is the name that will come there. And again, we want points. Now what I want to do is I want to leave the first 2 points, like the last 2 points. And then here I want to just bring this up to say around there. So I want like this much part to have leaves. Okay, so this is good. Now let's just make a flower. So I'm going to take a grid. I'm not going to make anything too fancy. Okay, so I'll just take a grid here and yeah, let me make it like 2 by 2 and 1 by 1. And then yeah, I just want to push it sideways. So I'm going to take like the length in Z, do copy parameter and paste relative reference. Yeah, divide it by 2. Okay, so this is good. And then I just want to taper it a bit. So what I can do is we can do this manually. So I'm just going to select these 2 points, press E and then just scale it. So this will be my leaf. And then similarly, I want to take another, like come back here. I want to take another edit. So I'm going to select the top 2 points, press E, and this will be separate. Yeah, and this I'll scale it down. So this is my petal and that's my leaf. Okay, so I'll call this petal and this is leaf. Or yeah, let's do one thing, let's make it slightly better. Okay, so I'll just keep this small and I'll take an edge loop, we'll add an edge loop in the middle. Yeah. And then again, just press 2, we'll select these 2, press E and sort of just scale it. Okay, so yeah, something slightly better, like I shouldn't be that crappy at it as well. So, okay, so we have our petal, which is really simple, and then we have a leaf. So yeah, let's call this leaf. Yeah. And yeah, so this is done. So what we want to do with the flower is I'm going to take a transform here and rotate it slightly like that and upwards. And then do a simple copy transform. So copy and transform, and then we want to go like 60 degrees and do 6 copies. So this is my flower, and then I can just give it a color. So let's just make it like slightly reddish or something, pinkish. Now with the leaf, I don't need to do anything. Okay, I'm just like, let's do one thing. Let's just press like a T here and move it up like that. Okay. Yeah. And then I can just take a transform and maybe, like if you want, then you could probably just sort of, yeah, tilt it like that. And again, take a color and just make it like green or something. Yeah. Okay. So now we want to copy these. So from here, what I want to do is firstly, I want to copy the flower. And then I want to copy the leaf. Let's also do one thing with the flower. So I'll just take a simple sphere. I'll drop it in the middle of my flower. Okay, so I'll just take this and scale it down. Yeah, and we'll just merge these together. And we can give this a color as well. And let's make it yellow. Okay. So what I want to do is you take something called as orientation along curve. So this is a new node in Houdini 18, which allows you to sort of generate normals based along the curve direction. So you don't need to use that, the old polyframe node anymore. Okay, you can just use this. Okay, so I'll just take this down here. I'll do a copy to points. Let's bring in the flower. So I'll take this and plug this in, and in the copy to points use group 1. Okay, did I not name it? Yeah, I thought I didn't name it. Okay, let's call it top. And come back here and call this top. Okay. Now, the problem is it's rotating in the wrong direction. So how you can do that is, one is you can come down here, put a transform and rotate it. But you have an inbuilt option in the orientation node itself. So what you can do is you can come to the orientation along curve, turn on additional rotations, and then I can just you can take the roll and you can see, so you can sort of rotate it this way, or you can take the yaw and rotate it, see, or you can take the pitch and then we can sort of, so I'll make it 90 degrees and see, so there you go. Maybe let's take a transform and scale it down slightly. I think it's a little too big. So this is good, but for the leaves, I want a slightly different orientation. So I'll take a second orientation node. Okay, I'll just duplicate this one. And then I just want to take, let's take all of this and move it, slightly here. And again, we'll take a copy to points. I'll plug in these two. So this is fine. Okay, like the leaf basic stuff is in place. Change this to leaves. Okay, so we have this. And then what I want to do is I want to come up to the roll and twist. And you can actually you can roll this, or you can sort of, twist them around. But what you can do is you can also do partial twist. See, so this gives you a better sort of placing for or rotation for the leaves. Now, along with this, I'll also take an additional wrangle, and I want to scale them down as they, go upwards. So we can use the curve view for that. Okay, so I'll do an at p scale is equal to, let's do ch ramp. So yeah, we will eventually get to the for each and copy stamping, but as I said, I want to do a full example. So, we're going through the whole process. So we'll do a ch ramp and take, I'll call this, let's call it curve. Okay, it's called curve. Okay, fine. I don't care. Okay, and then let's do at curve u, and then multiply it further with, we'll call it ch and size. Okay, and so plug this in and increase the size and reverse this. So you have this and you have that. And then lastly, I can take the same thing here. So do Control C, Control V, but I want to bring it in directly from the leaves, from the line here. And I can use this for scaling the stem itself. Or what you can do is we can take a sweep. So if you don't want to do this, you can do this, and I can take a polywire. This is one way of doing it. And I can multiply it with at p scale. So see, you can get this. But if you don't want to do this, we can very simply just use the new sweep node. Okay, so I can plug this in. And what you can do is just come in here. And by default, it's looking for a second input, but it has a couple of inbuilt inputs as well. So just come to surface shape and change it to rounded tube. See, and we can also give it end. So we'll do single polygon. And then you can come into apply scale along curve and just sort of, scale it down. See. So, this is better because it's just simpler. And then I can merge all of this together. So I can just merge this. So you have a simple flower. What you can also do is, let's just take this, maybe make it slightly small. Yeah, okay, this is good. Here, what you can also do is if you take a color node and I can say ramp from attribute, and I can use the curve view. So the curve view gives you, a gradient based along the length. And then I can just change this to, let's say, a, green and a brown, something like that. And I'll just push this in slightly. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so there you go. So you have a simple, flower with leaves. So now what I want to do is I want to vary the bend for each copy, and I also want to vary the copy numbers here. So as I said, like maybe for some flowers you have like 6, and then for some you have 5, and some you have 4. So it's like some of the petals have fallen off, you know, something like that. And then the same thing for the leaves. What I want to do is I want to vary the group over here. So this leaf group, I want to vary the start value. So this can define like how many points am I, or how many leaves am I supposed to have. So these 3 things are what I want to vary. So I'll just, you know, like modify them. So this, and then press Z, and you know, so I know that these are the 3 nodes that I want to go to eventually. Okay, so now this is fine. Now what I can do is I can take a grid. So here's the thing, right? For each and copy stamping is slow. Like no matter which way you look at it, it is going to be slow. So it's not something that you want to do for very large scale situations. For very large scale situations, it's better to just, you know, take multiple geometries and randomize them. That will be a lot faster. This is good for when you have like, you know, a smaller scene, you want to do a close up and you want to show like each thing has a slight bit of variation. You have maybe like 50 copies or 100 copies. Copy stamp is great there. If you're going to do like 10,000 of them, where it's not going to be seen at all, do not do copy stamping. Your scene will just slow down for no specific reason. Okay, so we'll take this, and what I'll do is I'll do a scatter. And I also want to make this small. So I'll just do like, say 1 by 1. I'll do a scatter. How big is my flower? I just want to see how big that flower is. Okay, the flower is big. We'll make it small later. Or let's just increase this a little bit. Yeah, okay. And then take the scatter and I'll make it just about 50 points. Okay, so not a lot. Okay, so I want to do a bunch of things here, right? So what I want to do is, let's take the basic stuff. I'll do a randomize, and let's not take a randomize. Okay, I'll take a noise, and I want to randomize the P scale, which will be 1D. Yeah, and let's remap it from like 0.4 to 1. Okay, and then we'll do a wrangle, and this will be my sort of like my control. Okay, so let's call it C. I'll also color this, so I'll make it yellow. And then here I want to do a bunch of things. So firstly, I want to randomize the bend value. Okay, and then I want to randomize the number of leaves and the number of petals. So what I can do is I can take, let's say, f at bend, which is equal to, we'll do randomize, or we'll do a fit for everything. So I'll do a fit 0, 1, randomize the point number, and this will be, let's say, minus 50 to plus 50. Okay, so this is first, and then I want to randomize the leaves. So this will be, both of them will be integers. So I'll do I at leaves, and is equal to, I'll pick up the same thing here. So I'll take this to Control C, but put the whole thing into an integer. Otherwise it will again give you that problem. So the whole thing goes into an integer, except this will be from, let's try like 8 to 15. So it can start from point number 8 and end at point number 15. Okay, and then semicolon at the end. And then similarly, I want I at, let's call it petals, is equal to, I'll take the same thing. So I'll do Control C, Control C, Control V. I'll do it between, let's say 3 and, let's do 3 and 7. We're not going to get 7 because it will sort of round off before that, but we'll do 3 and 7. Okay, so this is fine. And now, now as a final thing, let's also take a randomize, and we'll do an orient. So I'll do an attribute randomize, and let's just call this orient. So this will be orient 4, and the X and Z will be 0. So we are just rotating in the Y axis. Okay, so if I take this and I do a simple copy to points and I plug this in, so there you go, we get this. Okay, which is fine. This is way too big. So let's take a simple transform and scale it down. So we're getting our basic stuff, right? So we have our rotation and our scaling in place, which is fine. Now let's start to randomize things. So we will take a for each. I'll take a for each point. I'm going to turn off the orient because it's difficult to see otherwise. Like if you're going to randomize the bend with the orient, it will be difficult to sort of follow it. Okay, so I'll just take this, plug it in here. This comes in there and this goes out. Okay, so this is fine. So what I need to do is I need to take the bend and put it in the bend angle. Okay, so come here to the bend angle and the same thing that we did last time. So we need a point function. Okay, so just take a point and, or hold on a second. Yeah, let me just come back here. I'm going to rename this to something simpler. So I'll just call it for each A. Okay, so take this and then I'll do point, and as usual it needs 4 things. Okay, so which node are we going to? So we are going to for each A, then which is the point number. So you're inside a for each, so it's always 0. Then what is the name of the attribute? So the name of the attribute is bend. And then if it is a vector, then which component do you want? So it's not a vector, it's a float. So we want component 0. And there you go. So if you check it now, see. So this is what you're doing. You're basically randomizing the bend now on each, on each copy. Now, what I also want to do is I want to modify the number of leaves. So again, I'll just do Control C, take this, just check what it is called. So it's called leaves. Okay, fine. So I can come in here, go to the start and do Control V and call it leaves. See, so now what you're getting is you're getting like, let's make it really varied. Okay, so let's come down here. Instead of starting at 8, we'll start at 4 and we'll end at 20. See, so what you're getting is like, see, so this one has a lot of leaves, or let's go even lower. Let's go to 3. Yeah, see. So again, so see, this one only has like 3 leaves and this one has like a lot of them. So you can sort of randomize it that way. So this is nice. And then lastly, I want the petal stuff. So let's come down here to copy and we'll do Control V and we'll call it petal. Yeah, so what you're getting is, you see, some of these has 3 and some of these have 5 and then some have like, all of them. And that's basically it. So this is the place where you need for each. Okay, like not for randomizing scaling or rotation. This is where you need for each. But this is something else that you can do which is very interesting is, let's say if you want to animate this. This is where for each can be like this kind of randomization can be interesting. So let me just do one thing. I'm going to bypass, or let's do this first. So I'll take a noise. I'll do an attribute noise here and I'll create a value called bend. Okay, so I'm just going to come in here. This is 1D and I'll make it bend. And then I'll remap this. I'll make it say -50 and +50. So what can happen now is if I come down to here and if you put in like 3 slashes here, it becomes like a comment. So this is not going to be read. This will be read. Okay, like this is the one that will read now. And so if I come back here, so what you're doing now is you're bending based upon this noise function. Like just to show it, if I increase this a little bit, I'll make it 100. So if I take the attribute noise and then, the bend value, and if I adjust the element scale, see, so you're adjusting based upon whatever is the noise value. But now you can do something great, because if I animate this, and so what you can do now with this is, once you turn on animated and if you press play, you get this, which is like a really nice, like a wind effect. Of course, it is going to be slow. Okay, so you have to be careful about how you want to do this. You can try to pack them. You can do a pack an instance, but the pack an instance is not really useful here because the pack an instance is only helpful if you have the same object. In our case, literally every object is varied, so it's technically just creating. It's sort of like if you are going to copy one proxy object over 100 points, that is efficient. If you're going to copy 100 proxies over 100 points, there's no efficiency there because it is the same. You're just doing, each point is getting an individual object. So instancing doesn't really work over there. So pack an instance in this case might get you a little bit of a speed boost, but not really. Because logically it's like every point is getting an individual object, so it doesn't really help. Okay, so this is basically it. So this is what you can do. Like if you want to do parameter randomization for each copy, that's where you do for each and copy stamping, not for p-scale, not for orientation, also not for what I showed in the beginning, which is having multiple objects spreading out over a set of points. Okay, so that also you don't need to do for each anymore. Even in this case, as a final example, let's say if I just want to I'm going to duplicate all of this. Okay, like let's say if I want 4 different, let's say if I want to do 10,000 flowers, and you don't want to randomize, you don't want to put that through a for each, because if you do 10,000 points and a for each copy stamp, it's just going to die. What is efficient then is you make 4 individual flowers and put that through like a variant. Okay, that will be way more efficient than doing copy stamping. Okay, so just to give you an example, this is going to be stupid. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this, do a Control C, come back here and do a Control V. So I'm just duplicating all of it, and I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, so I'm going to delete this. So this will be 6, and come in here, delete, yeah, this is 15, this is fine, and then delete this. This will be 45. Okay, so what I can do, this is not the best way to do it, but this is just an example. So I'm going to do Control C, Control V. I'm going to make 3 of these. Okay, again, this is not smart. If you're going to do a lot of copies, this will be way more efficient. So let's get this to minus, and then let's get this to something even, or let's get this almost straight. So what we'll get is we have 3 different, so we have one that is this, and then one that is, in the opposite direction. Oh, okay, I'm not getting the leaves because it sort of renamed it. Yeah, okay, so it's leaves 2. Yeah, because I copy pasted and it was called OS, so it became like leaves 2. Yeah, so I'm guessing this is leaves 1. So yeah, we need to make adjustment here. This is a really dumb way of doing this, but okay. And then I'm just going to increase this to 20 and decrease this to, let's say, 5. Okay. So what we should have is we have this guy, which has a lot of leaves, this guy that is, in the opposite direction, and then this that is almost standing straight. Okay. And then I can take a wrangle and do I at variant is equal to 0. Do Control C, Control V. This is 1. And this is 2. And then I'll take a grid and we'll do a scatter and do the same thing. So wrangle and I at variant is equal to integer of, or I'll do the integer later. I'll do fit01 random at ptnum comma 0, comma 3, and then put the whole thing into an integer. Yeah, so we have these three, and let's also do one thing. For a final thing, I'm just going to take these and put them into a network box. So it just, easier, like smaller to see. Okay, so we have these, this is fine. And then if you've done everything right, I can just take a copy to points and we'll merge these three together. And I'll turn on the variant, plug this and that. And there you go, see, so you automatically get that variation in there. And this will be a lot faster because even if I make this to like 10,000, it still should be, see, a lot quicker to do that. Like maybe let's do one final thing. I'll do a randomize and take a p scale. Yeah. So if I take about like, let's say 4,000, it still goes out a lot faster. Okay, like, and you get like those three, so you have like the variation that you want. Okay. In comparison to this, if I come back to this example, and if I increase this, like we are at, what's our number? So it's at 100. Even if I make it 1,000, you're going to start seeing it calculating. Okay, like it's fast at 1,000. You try to go up to about 10,000 and it starts to like really starting to slow down. And not for, any great sort of, because at 10,000 copies, you can't make out the variation. So you're at about 15 seconds, 20 seconds to calculate 10,000 copies. Yeah. And you're not going to be able to see the difference. So the way where you want to use this, if you want to create small clumps of, randomized objects, that's where you use for each and copy stamping. And when you want to do like very large scale stuff, then you just, take multiple objects and switch between those. So then you do this. Okay, this final example that I did. Yeah, so hopefully this sort of clears out where you want to use copy stamping and where you want to use, ready-made attributes and where you want to just switch between, multiple objects. And yeah, so as usual, if you have any questions about this or you have any other questions about Houdini, you can let me know in the comments or, Twitter, Instagram, email, whatever is suitable. And yeah, that's basically it.